G'day. This video is about the people versus politicians who seem to think they are sovereign, supreme and above the will of the people, and they push their ideals. What I want to do is put a lot of people say we need a republic. Well, no we don't. Can we have one? No we can't. Our Constitution says we can't. And you need to comprehend exactly what I'm going to say, because America lost the Civil War. It became a republic under a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, all approved by England, and it still remained in the British Empire. I believe Donald Trump had an agreement or made an agreement to remove himself from the British Empire. I don't know if that's 100% correct because there's no details available on it. However, when the Commonwealth of Australia was established, the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority went to the people. How do we know this? We know this exactly because when you go to page 286 of our Constitution, it says it was asked of a politician what is the highest authority in this country. They would say the state constitution, but it doesn't quite reach it. For the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with the people. Absolutely. The right to do whatever they want in this country, as long as what they do does not affect other people. It is our right. Anything the Parliament wants to do, it needs to get from our Constitution, which sets the parameters as how we wish to be governed. I've explained over the last few months the fact that how elections must be held in this country. I was aware there was a text in the Constitution put there which explains the reasons why. And when I read it, I expect everybody to listen, look at their constitutions, or if they haven't got one, obtain one or look at someone else's, simply because it is the truth. And simply because every single election that's ever been done outside those provisions is unlawful. Every single one. Not only outside the Act put in place in 1890 and made letters patent by Queen Victoria. The problem we have, the people established this, the Constitution, and we need to understand what they established. What they established, a self-governing colony of England under the provisions of Clause 8. Now, if you look at Clause 3, it shall be lawful for the Queen, with the advice of the Privy Council, to declare by proclamation that on and after a date herein appointed, not being later than 1 year after the passing of this Act, the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, and also if Her Majesty is satisfied that the people of Western Australia have agreed hereto of Western Australia, shall be united in a federal commonwealth under the name of the Commonwealth of Australia, but the Queen may at any time after the proclamation appoint a Governor General for the Commonwealth. The Queen, nobody else. The Queen. And she did issue a letters patent. And you know, what's been happening is we've been misled, deceived and lied to. We were told that Clause 9 establishes the Commonwealth. Clause 9, the Constitution of the Commonwealth shall be as follows. The Constitution, not the Commonwealth, the Constitution. And the Constitution, it lays out all the chapters, what they are and everything else. I get that. But it does not establish the Commonwealth. What establishes the Commonwealth is what I've already read to you. But, Clause 6, the Commonwealth shall mean the Commonwealth of Australia as established under this Act. The States shall mean such as the colonies of New South Wales, New Zealand, Queensland, Tasmania, Victoria, Western Australia and South Australia, including the Northern Territory of South Australia, as for the time being, are parts of the Commonwealth, and such colonies or territories as may be admitted into or established by the Commonwealth as states, and each of such parts of the Commonwealth shall be called a state, a regional state. Now, it said the Parliament has plenary power to do whatever it likes. Well, we were given the interpretation of our Constitution in the form of a book put together by Dr. John Quick and Sir Robert Garrett to clarify what each section meant. And it contains what I've just read to you, that's the clauses, but the whole 9 of them, and section 1 to 128. But we've been misled and deceived into believing that the Parliament has the right to do whatever it likes and we have to do what we're told. Well, one would think that's stupid, given that the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us. We're also told the Parliament is above the Constitution and the High Court and everything else. No, that's also an outright lie. And the people making it have studied it and have become experts in the truth, according to them, but it's actually lies. Page 676 says, the Constitution is above both Houses of Parliament and they must comply with it. At the bottom of the page it says the Parliament is not supreme. The very essence of federation is that must be so. The Parliament, like everybody else, is subject to the law and must abide by it. That's clear. Page 346 says that not all enactments of the Parliament are valid, only those passed pursuant to, in accordance with, and under the authority granted by the Constitution, and those laws only are binding on the courts, judges and people of every state. All other laws are fraud. Now, when you go to page 791, the middle of the last paragraph, it says, neither the federal nor the state parliament are sovereign bodies. They are simply legislatures with limited authority. If they even attempt to pass a law in excess of that authority, the law is a nullity and affords no obedience. I've been telling people that the method of voting is one person once for the Senate and one person once for the House of Representatives, and that's pretty clear in the Constitution, Section 8 and Section 30. Now, I found the section I was looking for the other day, and it's here. It says, wherever a statute forbids the doing of a thing, the doing of it wilfully, without any corrupt motive, is indictable. Accordingly, the provision that each elector shall vote only once, Section 8 and 30, is an express provision against plural voting, and any elector voting more than once at a federal election will be guilty of a misdemeanor, which is a serious indictable offence, by the way. Now, they're trying to say, no, you can vote multiple times because good old Billy Hughes and the Labor Party in 1907, he was a member, but not as a member of the Labor Party in our Parliament. He was a member through the creation of the Labor Party in 1896 in England. And he was very much so corrupt. He purportedly passed a law in relation to conscription, to conscript people into doing things that he thought they should do, when he had no authority whatsoever over the military. 61 to 68 says the duties of the Governor-General. The Governor-General can only be established under the letters patent issued by Queen Victoria. Is it in place? Yes, it is. the powers to be, which I'll call them, to negate putting out any names in case they're offended, scared, or whatever other nonsense people want to put up to try and cover them up. Now, let's look at the reality of what I just said. There is no supreme power given to any parliament in this country. There is no sovereignty given to any parliament. You cannot pass a law that gives you that. Now, your big problems all stem from the fact that you've never been taught the Constitution. Whitlam made sure of that. They have made several claims. So let's go back to the claims being made. Supposedly, which is purportedly, so it puts it into lawful terms, Billy Hughes passed a law saying that we must be conscripted when they decide to plonk us in a ship and send us overseas to a war, or any other thing they want us to do. They passed a purported law stating we'll have preferential voting. From what I just read, that's a misdemeanor, an indictable offence. I'll come back to that because it's very important people understand what that means. Now, you go then on to 1920, February. King George V came to Australia. I've showed you before a letters patent issued by him and the proclamation in the Government Gazette saying that he upheld all his grandmother's letters patents, so they continued. What effect did that have? It took out everything that Billy Hughes did right up until 1919, when he signed the Treaty of Versailles and joined the League of Nations, neither of which he could do without going to the people first. Why? The supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority is ours. Did we give him permission to do it? No. A recent speech written by Chief Justice French of the High Court and backed up by Professor Anne Termy states clearly it can't be used here until it goes to the people. Prior to that, Justice Kirby made the same statement. He also said that you have a problem if you put something in place which is unlawful. For example, what they've been doing is willy-nilly passing all these laws saying we've got this authority, we've got that. No, you don't. You're only granted the authority by the Constitution to pass, debate and pass laws for the good governance and well-being of the Commonwealth of Australia, Section 51. Very clear. We are told that the passing of the Electoral Act in 1949 gave all the rights to the Aboriginals. No, that is a lie. I've seen it pop up on YouTube. It's not true. It needed a referendum to make sure they had the rights, and that took place in 1967 when 90.2% of Australians voted to make sure they had the rights. They already had the right to vote. The preamble says, whereas the people of New South Wales, Queensland and so on joined together in one indissoluble federation, the Commonwealth of Australia, every single person that was here, every man and woman, not a person under the Corporations Act, so don't anybody come and put that nonsense there because I'll wipe it out. Now, sit down and have a look at what I'm saying. If you can vote for one person once for the Senate and one person once for the House of Representatives, why are we forced by a purported act of an unlawful federal parliament to vote for 6 people for the House of and 8 people for the House of Representatives and up to 20 odd people or more, depending whether you vote above the line or below it, for the Senate? meaning to do so is a misdemeanor. It's a crime. Something that must be dealt with on indictment. And you must be given a trial by jury of your peers, not selected by these lovely little politicians that put all government employees in there and ignore you. I'm talking what the Constitution is saying. The supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us. When you look at what Queen Victoria did, after looking at the schmozzle in America with a president and a republic, and the people ignoring it and changing it all, they've changed back under Trump. I get that. I'm not knocking that. They set Australia up where the president of this country is a people. President? Yes, the person with the most say is us, the people. Absolute. Uncontrollable. So how can a parliament pass those purported laws they purportedly changed when they weren't even employed under a lawful voting system? Western Australia's voting system was so corrupted they come out and said it on the 2nd and 3rd of January in the West Australian. Why are they still sitting there? Corruption. How do we have a federal parliament based on the voting from 6 states when we only had 5 to do it? They had the same at federation, and you continued it on and ignored the people. The will of the people is in our Constitution. You can't change it. It doesn't matter what you say, what you think, and what you do. You need our permission. That goes for your COVID nonsense, whatever. And you say you weren't forced, you were coerced, you were threatened because you're going to lose your job, in a lot of cases lose your houses, which you signed up to. Nobody gave them prior warning that this bug was coming here, if it was a bug. And FOI says that they still haven't isolated it, so where is this bug? Why did we need to be medicated when the Constitution, section 5123A, says we cannot be conscripted on medical grounds? How come you did? Emergency powers, there's no such thing. If there was, they would be exercisable on behalf of the reigning monarch, being the Governor-General, if we had a lawful one, which we don't have. If we did, he would be established under the letters patent issued by Queen Victoria. Why? They're still in place. Oh, we got the Australia Act. No, you don't. Did you need a referendum? No, because you can't have it. You cannot produce a law of a parliament to change the status of this country, and you did. It says so on your stupid act. But it says also it doesn't interfere with it, with the Constitution. Another oxymoron. You can't even figure that one out to get it right. Our Constitution is clear on a lot of points, and I'm going to bring a few of them up, and it's nothing to do with race or anything else. It's to do with how we want to be governed. The people, we being the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority. This is how we want to be governed. We don't have legal systems in this country. We have lawful systems. Only lawful ones. We do not have a lawful voting system unless you go back and vote according to the Voting Act, the Imperial Law of 1890. I've held it up, I've shown you. I'm not going to hold your hand. That says the Parliament approaches the Governor-General, who prorogues the Parliament, dissolves it. Dissolves the federal Parliament. I'll come back to the fact we've never had a lawful one because I've explained it before and it doesn't exist. And you cannot put it in place and say it does because you said so. You don't get to say Whether that's good English or not sounds better than your nonsense. We, the people, are supreme, sovereign, and it's our power cannot be taken away. It belongs to us, whereas the people, or we the people. You think you can change that? No. Now let's look at particular things. People lawfully obtain guns. Lawfully. You think that you can just pass a law and take them off them because someone you let into this country killed people. Killed people. And yet they're still allowed to run around waving flags and yelling out all their nonsense that they want us to comply with, and we're not going to. You see, I've got a lot of Muslim friends. What have you done to stop the radicals? Nothing. Every time somebody gets up and mouths off and says, we want Sharia law, what are you doing? Nothing. We want this. Nothing. We're going to take over this country. Still nothing. And yet you say you have authority? There is no such authority as a Prime Minister. He is either the Speaker of the House or the Foreman of the Parliament, the one who makes sure the Parliament operates correctly, but only appointed by the current lawful Parliament. Where is the 10 people selected from the lower house of Parliament and 8 from the upper, which creates and forms the federal executive? There is no national cabinet. That's nonsense. There's no emergency powers given to any part of the Parliament. As I said before, and I'll say again, Chapter 3, Section 76, page 795, the 4th paragraph says, if you exercise authority throughout the Commonwealth, you show where in the Commonwealth Constitution that authority comes from, because if there's no authority, you don't have any. None. Zero. It's time for people to wake up. We have the authority to sack the Parliament. How do we go about it? Tell England we don't want them anymore. England sits above us for the one purpose, as guardians of us, as part of the British Empire. You mightn't like what I'm saying, but it's a fact of law. If you don't like the British Parliament, you don't like anything about it, boo-hoo, you need our permission to get us out of this system. Our permission, and you don't have it. When you asked in 1999, we said no. You bring up Sue versus Hill, that was a decision made by a court sitting unlawfully. Since 1979, when you created the High Court Act and gave it the ability for the Parliament to make rules to control it, you dismissed any thought of the High Court having any real authority. You added local government at the same time in 1979 to the state constitutions, none of which were lawfully established under the provisions of 106. None of them. Where do they comply? Any of them comply with 106. Western Australia never put its correct one in. Every single state constitution was made letters patent. Every single state constitution was made letters patent, which means they sit there unable to be altered or touched in any way except by a referendum lawfully under 128 and presented to the reigning monarch to sign off on it. The only one who can alter or change a letters patent. I know Billy Hughes wanted to remove the statute of monopolies, which controls who has the say in relation to letters patent. You tried to remove everything. Magna Carta stands. Why? Because of the constitutional constraints. Our constitutional constraints. You cannot change or move the oath. Oh, look, we've created the Queen of Australia. The only Queen of Australia was Bob Hawke, and I'm not talking about a queen in a robe. I'm talking about an unlawful entity that you've called the Queen, and now the King of Australia, neither of which exist. They're the monarch of this country. We are subjects of the reigning monarch. We are a self-governing colony of England, and you can't change that. You have no authority to stop fishermen fishing here, and we know from fishermen who actually have been out, and they've actually filmed foreign trawlers here trawling in our waters. Why? Who told them they could? Who told you you could give away our oil, gas and minerals? The supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us. Who told you you could do it? We didn't. Who told you you can control our voting system? Nobody. Is it lawful? No. It has to be taken state by state, and each elected person, where we vote for one person once, represents that state in the Senate, represents that state in the House of Representatives. There is no opposition. And what is the point of any politician sitting there when their allegiance is to a foreign entity? Oh, we can do that under Sue versus Hill. No, Sue versus Hill was wiped out with the 1999 referendum, and again in 2008 by Queen Elizabeth, who said clearly, I uphold all of my great-grandmother's letters patents. Oh, the Queen's this, she's a lizard, she's that. What a lot of garbage. You've given us no evidence, shown us no evidence, and filmed no evidence saying what you said is correct. So it's a lie. It lacks any credibility whatsoever. You think you can make all these statements. You think you can sign up to the WEF, the WHO, United Nations. When did you ask us? Whose money went to the United Nations? Ours. Who told you you could give the WEF or the WHO authority in this country? No one. Go back to the fact, supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority belongs to the people. Section 44, 1, subsection 1. Your oath of allegiance is to foreign entities you're incapable of sitting, but you shouldn't be there anyway. You weren't elected lawfully. Now, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. America was run, it was granted the right that there was granted the right to have a president over a republic with a Bill of Rights. We were granted the right on the opposite side of the spectrum, where the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us. Every law passed pursuant to our Constitution must go for the signification of our security. Our security is the Crown of England. The Crown of England in that law is God. The representative of God is the reigning monarch. Don't believe me? Look it up. Who has the final say? The Archbishop of Canterbury. Look that up. It's fact. Why isn't it being controlled? Because of corruption. Corruption and theft by politicians. And that is the problem. The politicians. You see, we have control over this country. We the people. We were granted it by our Constitution. We don't have any constraints except those contained in the 1688 Bill of Rights, habeas corpus, King James Bible, the Act of Settlement, Magna Carta. These are charters of rights, granted rights. The King James Bible tells you you can do whatever you like as long as what you do doesn't harm others. Is it 100% correct? I've got about half a dozen different versions of the Bible. You have to filter through some of what's been said and understand that Constantine changed the King James Bible to suit himself and the Roman Church. I get all that. We need to wake up and understand we are the president and controlling group over this country. The Parliament is controlled by our Constitution, and if an authority isn't granted by it, it's denied and remains with us. When we're asked and we say no, then they go ahead and do it. That's blatant treason. They breach the oath they owe to us, to serve us. Look at what's going on when our Parliament doesn't even comply with the law. Western Australian Parliament allowed the election to stand even though they knew it was corrupt. So by saying, oh, we're going to look into it and then do nothing about it, they were lying. They had no intention of doing anything about it. If they did, they would have cancelled the election and scheduled another one. It would have wiped out the federal one because the federal one needed 8 or 6 states, lawful states. 6 lawful states. And they didn't. But you didn't anyway, because each state, systematically since Federation, has removed their constitution and replaced them, none of which are sitting under their state constitutions, or complying with 106. Why is it so important? The reason O'Connor said, if it was asked of a politician, what is the highest authority in this country, he would say, the state constitution. It leads near the truth but doesn't quite reach it, because the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with the people. Now, sit down and look and listen to what I've just said. The state constitution has to be in place to establish the state parliaments and the states under a letters patent issued by Queen Victoria, upheld by George V, upheld by the people in 1999 and upheld by Queen Elizabeth in 2008. It stands. It's not nonsense. The fact checkers, you want to fact check me, I'll fact check you. How dare you come on a system where I'm paying for airtime and tell me, oh, you've got the right to take me off because what I'm saying is incorrect. No. You prove what I'm saying is incorrect. You can't. Our Constitution says all those people that you are referring to are lying. And AI, that's not even a human being. Whoever programs the AI has a say in what comes out the other end. Some of what it says is correct. Most is politicians or political parties or some other vested interest telling us what to do. So all the current people sitting in the Parliament, you don't hold any portfolios unless they were given to you by a lawful Governor-General. The letters patent for the office of Governor-General states that. Now, it has to be given by the Governor-General. So who gave them to you? Anthony Albanese? Who's he? Who's he? He has never produced a document saying that Ellery is not his name. It says he had it changed by default, lawfully changed, by the way. Where is that certificate? Is he obliged to? Yes, given all the criticism of him that comes out. If he is representing us, why hasn't he put it out there? Why don't politicians get the pay guaranteed by the Constitution for the hours they work plus costs? Who told Julia Gillard she could create her own system of payments and ignore us? Oh, it's an independent body. No, it's not. It's a government department that tells how much money can be given to the government. The people here have to understand. All you have to do is say no. But I'm going to classify something else, and it needs to be put in place. If you are a police officer, whether state or federal, or any person in authority, being judge, lawyer, or anybody else, lawful lawyer, that is, not signed up to the Crown Corporation in the City of London through the Bar Association, you people charge these people with a serious crime, an indictable offence. An indictable offence. They have forced the people to vote. Have they forced them? Yes, because if you don't vote their way, you have to pay a fine. I didn't vote their way, and I told their lawyer when they rang me up, I was not going to vote their way. There was no one lawful for me to vote for under our Constitution. And I've just read it to you. You can only vote for one person once. That cannot be changed or altered in any way. It can't. The purpose of that is so you vote for one person for the Senate, so they represent us, the supreme, absolute, and uncontrollable authority in the Senate. You vote for one person once who represents us, the supreme, absolute, and uncontrollable authority in the House of Representatives. So why do we need peanuts, oh, they're the opposition, getting all this money to oppose people who are supposedly representing us? What sort of a dilbrick would even think that they were doing the right thing by us? You'd have to be insane or not taught. Majority of people in this country are not taught their law, not taught their supremacy, not taught their rights. Why not? Because Gough Whitlam passed a heap of laws and backdated them. When he backdated the Immigration Act to 1948, he negated the whole act as it stands now. Wiped it out. Because there is no power to backdate any law in this country, and it's explained by the Constitution when it says very, very clearly that if you backdate a law and it picks people up, they can be convicted of an offence they didn't know was an offence. That's why it was put in there. That's why our Constitution is precise. That's why our Constitution clearly states every single law must be made pursuant to our Constitution, or it is void. HCA 39 of 1915, Sir Samuel Griffiths, one of the people who wrote the Constitution, and a senior barrister at the time, not a member of the bar, he said, here you find 106 binds the state constitution and all laws made pursuant to the overriding authority of the Commonwealth Constitution. Fact. It's a fact. He also said it is beyond the legislative authority of any state to pass a law that overrides the Constitution or override a law backed up by the Constitution. Have you ever looked at that? I told you it starts at paragraph 148. Has anybody looked it up? It's still there. You need to read decisions of the High Court. When the High Court judges knew the corruption was sneaking into our Parliament, and they took steps to block it out. And people need to read it. It doesn't matter how many rants go on here from trolls. The Constitution is the supreme law of this country. Page 701 says the Constitution, quasi-sovereign. It's quasi-sovereign because all authority is given to the people, who are the Commonwealth, and it's backed up by the Crown. It's backed up by the Crown. That Crown is the Crown of England. That's why they created the Queen of Australia and King of Australia. Where was the authority anywhere in the Constitution for a Parliament to rise up and create a monarch of its own, or a royal style and title? No, that's not the royal style and title, because we can't swear an oath to the King of Australia or Queen of Australia. We have to swear the oath contained in our Constitution, and that goes for every member of Parliament. 42 of the Constitution says every senator and every member of the House of Representatives, before taking their seat, must swear the oath contained in the Constitution, and they don't. So they don't exist. None of them. You can't change that fact or alter that fact. Read 128. The big problem we have is the liars and frauds that create themselves and call themselves politicians. We are sovereign and supreme. You are not. You are our servants. And you are not going to get away with it. And as for your police, if you do not arrest and charge these idiots, you are guilty of the crimes they commit. Doesn't matter whether you're federal or state police or whatever you are. And if you're in the military, if you don't serve the people, you're committing a crime. You're employed under the Crown to protect this country. The Governor-General is to uphold and protect our Constitution. Is he? We don't even have a he. Who said we can have a she? Says him or he. Time to wake up. Time to put things in perspective. We are not unlike America. The only difference between America and us is we the people govern this country as a conglomerate. In America they're governed by their Congress and their Prime Minister. But that's a different agreement made between the Crown of England after they lost the War of Independence. It was going to cost both countries massive amounts of money, so they decided to have an agreement. And the agreement was that they could have a republic with a constitution still tied to England. That's why they still went to the Commonwealth Games. If you don't believe that, look it up, it's all there. But understand, when it goes to the polling booth, you can vote for one person once for each house of the parliament. The rest is negated. The states only continue subject to the Commonwealth Constitution, their constitutions. The state parliament is created under 107, 108 and 109, draws its authority referentially from that constitution. There is no other way for it to operate. That means they are bound by the same provisions. To put a voting notice up which does not contain the provisions to vote for once for the upper house, once for the lower, the papers are unlawful. Hand them back to them and tell them you want the lawful ones. Since they decide they can fine you, they can't. They can't. You can only be convicted by the lawful judgment of your peers. The Constitution says judges, plural, are adjudicators between the law and the people in the case that's before them. Not a whole row of judges, judges plural. Habeas corpus prohibits the sitting of one single judge. It prohibits it. It doesn't say maybe, it says can't. It's a synagogue of Satan, a star chamber hearing, where the person sitting there is biased. I've sat before these judges and listened to their lies and nonsense. I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. Who died and made them God? Nobody. Nobody. They are just lying. I didn't name anybody except the two people who did that big talk on whether you had the right to sign those agreements. You don't. When you signed and joined the WHO, the WEF, United Nations, League of Nations and everything else, you committed blatant treason. You don't have the authority to sign it without gaining authority from the people. And there's no mandate that doesn't give you authority. It's a lie. We need to go back to the state constitutions and have the first lawful 6 states created under the state constitutions. Under the state, under the federal constitution. They must sit under the state constitutions and have elections, and those representatives selected at a referendum or an election in a state form the first lawful federal parliament, because we've never ever had it. No matter how many lies are told by so-called professors or other people, You needed 6 states. Well, in fact, if you look at Clause 6, you needed 7 states. New Zealand was put in as part of New South Wales. They even had a seat in the Parliament for a long time. I don't know if they still have, but they did. It's time to wake up, people. We are not under their authority. They get to pass laws for us, not over us. And they get that authority granted by our Constitution. If it's not there, it doesn't exist. It's as simple as that. So I'm not going to rant all day. Stop and think. The only difference between America's setup and ours is America has a Congress and a president to tell them what to do. We don't. We have a Constitution which tells our Parliament what to do. We do. Time you used it, time you told these people in our Parliament, comply with our Constitution or get out. You are sitting in treason and fraud. The Constitution's clear. You can only vote for one person once for each House of Parliament. There's no such thing as an opposition. Time to get rid of it. So you have a lovely day so that this country can eventually wake up and have one first lawful sitting of both state and federal parliaments. Till then, we have nothing. We're not lawless, we have law. We are not without any authority under law. We have the crown in right of the people. It's as simple as that. Time to change back to where it should be. Get rid of the liars, the frauds, and the huge bills. And by the way, if you have an ABN number, which all of you people do, all the political parties, even the judges, magistrates, courts, and everything else, your big problem is when you borrow money, you borrow it from your companies, and those companies are responsible. We had no say in it. It's not our debt, it's yours. So if you rack up trillions of dollars, too bad. Serves the right for the Reserve Bank, which is a foreign bank, giving you money to give to another country when it's against our Constitution. Read it and weep. And as for you people who come to this country, follow our customs and beliefs, assimilate into our society, or get out. That is not hate, it's not fear, it's nothing but what the Constitution grants. And that is not a document of fear, or hate, or lacking love. It is constraints on our Parliament. If the politicians get fearful over what's written in there, boo-hoo. Do you want a lend of a box of tissues? I don't really want them back. You can have them. So have a nice day.